Hi, this is Isaac with Lotus Kendamas, and today I'm going to teach you how to butterfly. The butterfly is one of the most legendary tricks in the world of kendama string flow. First of all, it looks super cool. Second of all, it feels very flowy and nice when doing this trick. And third, it's very easy to flow between the butterfly and other string flow tricks. So there's a lot of different ways to butterfly. Every different way encompasses the same thing, which is the tama and the ken rotating on opposite sides of each other. But instead of a swirl where they're going the same direction, a butterfly is the opposite. So they're going in the opposite direction, looking like they're gonna run into each other, but because they're on different verticals, they shouldn't. I'm gonna have Marcus jump in here shortly to teach his way of butterflying. So the way that I'm going to first describe is from going straight into it. So you're going to be holding the ken in your right hand and you're going to be butterflying in your left hand. Just like the underswirl and the twirl, you're going to be going clockwise. You're going to put your pointer finger out and as it rotates around, you're going to connect your pointer finger to the middle of the string. Once it connects, the tama is going to go away from you and you're going to push the ken towards you, which puts it on this axis of it being able to bounce and float around each other. Your finger's gonna be doing this really weird poke motion, and that's gonna keep the momentum of the butterfly going. You'll be able to end the butterfly any way you want. A good example is catching the ken, moving it around, going to big cup, and then spiking it. Like most string flow tricks, a setup that is somewhat close in weight, between 3 grams, is just gonna help this trick. Obviously, physics-wise, if one object weighs way more than the other, it's gonna feel very unbalanced. So I recommend having a similar weight setup. You can do a butterfly with any string length. I play a little longer string typically, but the shorter the string, the quicker and nicer that this trick is gonna look. So the first step of this trick is holding the ken and getting the tama into a clockwise rotation. You're going to stick your pointer finger out on your non-dominant hand and the string is gonna wrap around. If you wanna get used to this, you can just do this little trick where it wraps around your finger and then it goes back. Make sure that when the string and the tama wraps around your finger, that the tama is going on the outside of the string connected to the ken and not the inside. The second step is going to be throwing the ken towards you on the opposite axis of the tama. So this is a weird motion. The first step that I would do is before it wraps around your finger, you're gonna push your finger in and hook onto the string. So the kendama will do a butterfly looking motion, but it won't continue going. So right when I release that ken, and I let the ken go around on top of my finger, I pinch, and I kind of use my thumb too to make sure that string stays in. So to keep the motion going, you're going to need more, the kendama is gonna need more leverage to continually rotate around your finger. To do that, you can see my hand when I do it kind of slowly goes up and down. I don't do this on purpose. I don't do this consciously. I just understand the feeling that I need to do to make sure to keep the butterfly going, which results in a weird pinching motion and my hand kind of rocking back and forth. I think the finger motion will come naturally once you figure out the need of keeping the butterfly going. But to describe it to you, I am literally pulling in my finger so the kendama doesn't drop when it's like this. And then when the kendama is around my finger like this, I'm releasing it. So it goes from pinching to pointing. And then as it rotates again, I pinch and point. My thumb in this motion is touching the string to make sure that it's connected to my pointer finger. But I don't necessarily need my thumb there if my pointer finger does a lot of the work. In fact, if I place my fist in a certain way, I'm able to not point at all and just make sure that the string is rubbing against my finger, but the string is not going over my knuckle at all. This is hard to do. I just want to give some additional options so you get a good feel of what this motion feels and looks like. To get out of this, I like to catch the ken, have the tama rotate, and then the string is free so I can rotate it around and get it to a cup or get it to spike or do a flip to lighthouse. So again, because butterfly can be done in a lot of different ways, I'm going to have Marcus come in and show you guys how he does his own butterfly, and hopefully that's going to add to the content regarding how to butterfly, and this will be able to help you. I think you can choose whichever one you want. I recommend trying to learn both ways. There's different rotations and there's different pinches and there's different hands that you can use. But we just want to throw all of this information at you so you can kind of pick and choose what you think is going to work for you.
What's up everyone? It's Marcus jumping into this how to butterfly tutorial to talk a little bit about how I learned it. The way I learned how to butterfly was by going from a swirl, tapping the tama, and then going into the butterfly. So for my version of the butterfly, you obviously need to know how to swirl to begin with. We already filmed a tutorial, so I recommend going back and watching that one before learning this particular butterfly. So what I'm doing is after the swirl, I'm tapping the tama to get into the butterfly motion. When I'm swirling, the tama and the ken are going in the same direction. Instead of catching the tama to exit the swirl like you would, like I showed in the previous tutorial, what you do instead of catching is tapping the tama down and away from yourself. The important thing to remember here is to tap away from yourself, because if you tap this way, if you tap towards yourself like that, it'll create a knot around your finger that's really difficult to get out of. Another important thing when learning this version is as soon as you tap, you want to make sure that you have pinched the string. What will happen otherwise is the string will fly off your finger like that. Like Isaac mentioned, there's many different ways of doing butterflies, because the way I'm doing it like this is actually that the tama and the ken are going opposites direction than when Isaac is doing his, which is going this way. An issue I had when learning this came from not tapping the tama away from me. If you don't make sure that you tap it away from you, is that the things will slam into each other and you won't be doing a butterfly. So make sure after the swirl and after the tap that they're completely rotating independently of each other on their own axis. My favorite way of exiting the butterfly is by then letting the tama, once it spins around this way, let it fall into my open palm, and from here I can go into a hand roll, infinite swirl, you name it. A good way of spiking this particular version of the butterfly is once you swirl, you tap, you butterfly, you have an open palm in your right hand, you let the tama fall right into that, and then you let the ken fully swing around and you can go into a swirl and then go to spike. Just like I showed in the previous tutorial, make sure, once again, go back, watch that, in order to learn how to spike the swirl. It looks like this. Thanks for listening to me. Now I'm gonna bring Isaac back in to talk about a different grip.
So like Marcus said, I'm gonna show you guys a different way to grip the butterfly. Even though Marcus did a counterclockwise butterfly and he included a swirl in it, and I did a clockwise butterfly, I'm gonna show you how to do a clockwise butterfly but with a pinch grip rather than a finger grip. So again, this is gonna be the same butterfly, the same two objects on opposite side of the axis, rotating at each other, but the way that I grip the string is gonna be different. Instead of gripping it with my finger like this, pointing, I'm gonna do more of a pinch grip, pinching the string with my thumb to my pointer finger. The way that I like to get into this, similar to Marcus, is a swirl. The way that I pinch it is with my thumb against my bent pointer finger. And in fact, if you wanted to, you can pinch it without doing a swirl, and you can even start a butterfly without doing a swirl, even though you have to pinch it really hard with a really good firm grip. So an example of me doing a butterfly with the pinch grip without doing a swirl looks like this. I'm going to start the tama in rotation, in clockwise rotation, and I'm going to throw the ken at me when the timing is right. And the timing is right when the tama and the ken that I haven't thrown yet are next to each other. You have to pinch it really hard to get it set into motion. So I do like doing this from a swirl. The way that I do that from a swirl is doing an under swirl, and then just like Marcus, hitting my tama towards my chest, starting the rotation. The string is going to naturally fall into place on top of my finger, and then my thumb comes down to pinch. Because Marcus's swirl is a counterclockwise rotation, because it's an over swirl, he's tapping the tama away from himself when I'm tapping the tama towards myself. So as I pull the tama towards me into the butterfly place, I keep that rotation, which is very common in all ways of doing the butterfly. Instead of my pointer finger being out, I'm pinching the string with my thumb on top of my pointer finger. With the pinch, you can get out of it very similarly. One trick I love to do out of this is a propeller, which we have a tutorial for. So I get into a pinched butterfly, I grab the tama, let the ken swirl a few times, and then I throw the tama really hard to make a propeller. So a big problem that I had when starting to learn how to butterfly was the ken and the tama smacking into each other like that. And that happened because when I send one object, when I send the tama, I'd send it on the same axis of the ken and not towards me or away from me. So it's very important to make sure that you really do it towards you, and that's gonna make a butterfly that's like way more vertical, but that's totally okay. I also had some trouble learning the motion and learning the feeling of keeping the butterfly going. And after time, I really got that down, that pumping motion, to keep both objects in line on opposite axes. So that is our butterfly tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, leave a comment if you're having a specific issue or you have a specific question. Thanks guys, see you for the next one.